Yes, it's good to be with you again. For those viewing this who've never seen one of our previous interviews, what's a Dutchman doing in Egypt?
Yeah, that's a problem, huh? Well, in the previous century, I lived in Egypt for being a journalist for Dutch radio. And then I stayed on and I was starting and managing some media companies. Then in 2008, I became an Anglican priest in Egypt. So that's how I started here and how I stayed long. Now, the past few years, I've been living in the Netherlands. We had elderly mothers who needed attention. But I continue to move to Egypt every month, actually, for continuing some of my work in Egypt. Yeah.
That's good. Well, as you are living in Egypt as an international, how is the war, the invasion of Russia in Ukraine impacting Egypt today?
Well, in a way, just like it impacted all of us in Europe, inflation went up because of the price of grain. That was the first thing that hurt the people. But there are also other problems. There was a sort of convergence at the same time. All the problems that had been building up in Egypt came at this year came to the top of. For instance, Egypt in the past decades has gathered many international debts, and in the past 5 years or so, the international debts have gone up a lot, and now the time for payback has come. So, and there is no money. So there is a great demand for foreign currency, and that created a devastating devaluation recently. The government was always able to keep up the value of the Egyptian pound to a certain extent, but this year it lost 40% of its value towards the foreign currencies. And because Egypt depends completely on the import of food and a lot of other things, this has really upped the prices beyond normal. In Europe, we suffer from inflation of 10 to 15%, as in most countries. In Egypt, inflation is in the realm of 40%.
Wow.
Which is, of course, dramatic, and especially because this is in the area of food prices.
So how's it impacting the local people?
Well, there's great impoverishment, really, not just of the lower classes, the very poor, but even of middle classes. And especially the lower classes are suffering because if a year ago you had just enough money to buy your food, or actually not enough, but you were able to manage. Now you have 40% less money for buying food, where the food is 40% more expensive. So a lot of people have really been rationalizing their expenses. I know quite some people on the lower middle class levels who just can't afford fruit, let alone meat. The last thing may not be too bad, but healthy food like vegetables and fruit is really a problem for many people. So they live on rice, and a lot of people need actual help from outside, from others.
What is the government doing?
Well, historically, Egypt has always been subsidizing a lot of stuff for the poor, like food, and petrol has always been very cheap here. So lots of primary expenses, primary costs of living have been subsidized. And the government tries to maintain that, but it's obvious that they are at the point of breaking because they don't have the money for it, or they have to print more Egyptian pounds, which then creates more inflation. So a lot of people are worried that the subsidies will also be withdrawn, which will even be more devastating for the poor. The government is telling people everything is fine, we have enough food in stock. Even this week, I saw a statement by the government that we have enough food, enough rice in stock. And that statement came because there was no rice in the shops. And the government tries to keep people calm. Yeah, what else can they do? And the government is blocking imports, not of food, obviously, but a lot of luxury goods and not so luxury goods. We are not allowed to import them anymore because that costs hard currency. And the government needs the hard currency for paying off their debts. So there's an increasing problem of the availability of the goodies that people like.
And you're in Egypt with a charity, I think you founded Nile Valley. Can you tell us more about what you're doing, particularly to help the poorest in society?
Well, we have a couple of, specifically for them, we are really focusing at the moment on some food projects. In the past few years, we have helped thousands of widows and poor families with food packages. We would give these thousands of people regularly food help because that's what they needed. And we did that through local churches. It's not me, the white boy, who goes to the poor and says, here, a food bag. Of course not. We can't do that. Right now, we are doing a project of sowing wheat on 10 acres of land. We do that with a bishop who has a big piece of land. Next year, we hope to do the same with the same bishop, but we have committed to then sowing wheat in 50 acres. And actually, the commitment of that bishop is that 60% of that wheat will be directly given to the poorest in his environment, which means thousands of families, and 40% will be sold for being able next year to work the land and sow the land and all that. So this is really a concrete long-term help for the very poor people. And this Christmas, we are giving away 2,000 food packages, we hope, if we have the subsidies for it. But we want to give 2,000 food packages with Christmas to as many families that really need it. Yeah.
That's amazing. And although you've mentioned the poor in general terms, I understand that you're working particularly with refugees in
no, not particularly. We do work with Sudanese refugees, yes, but we also, but the bulk of what we do is with the Coptic Orthodox Church, actually, and also with Anglican, Pentecostal Church, a Baptist Church. But the bulk is with the Coptic Orthodox, because that's the biggest church of Egypt. They have been the longest. And they are, to be honest, also closer than the other churches, closer to the poor, because this is their people. They are very strongly present in the countryside where the poverty is biggest. So that we try to focus more and more on working in villages, because the poverty there is awesome, awful.
If folk would like to support the work of Nile Valley, how do they do that?
Well, you can maybe send them our email address, but I can mention it, but it is hard to write down, but it is kantoor@nijlvallei.nl. So if you give people a way to know that, then it is fine. And let me tell you one challenge that I personally have. I'm really deeply motivated by Jesus in Matthew 25, where he says that what you have done to the poorest of these people, you have done for me. How can I, as a relatively wealthy Western Christian, refuse to help people in their needs if they come to me, or if they come to me through their church community and say, we are hungry? If I decide to not give them, then I really feel it is as if I say to my Lord Jesus Christ, I will not give you food. You can go hungry. And that really motivates me to do whatever I can. Yeah.
Thank you, Jos. We'll make sure the hyperlink to your email and the website is available with this interview. Thank you very much, Jos. We look forward to having another conversation.
Yeah, nice. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you.